Well, that hurricane must have made this Barbados cherry happy again, because now it's full of blooms and stuff. But check that out, some nice flowers there. What's, the aftermath of the hurricane, and unfortunately, it looks like as of maybe this morning or last night, there was like 43 or so confirmed deaths from Helene. And when I did the update, I guess before, during, and after the hurricane, there had only been 3 deaths. But I said in that video that, I'm sure it was going to be more. But, hey, there's quite a few. And I kind of said, well, the destruction doesn't seem that bad, other than where those, what's it called, where the sea levels rise and they flood, get floodwaters mixed in with that. Yeah, it did a number, I guess, on Steinhatchee. It did a number on Tampa. It did a number on Cedar Key. Probably a few others. I'm guessing like Cross City got some pretty bad rain and damages. So yeah, a lot of the somebody said every business in Cedar Key got damaged or destroyed. And it looks like there are a few businesses that are still standing, probably just have to be rebuilt, which isn't going to be cheap. I think they said this was like the second or third hurricane in like 13 or so months to hit them. So they haven't really had time to rebuild. They were probably in the process of rebuilding when this hit them again, And, one of the residents said, I've thought like many times about just leaving, and, then another time I'm like, I'm planting my feet in the ground really hard here, digging my feet in the ground, and I'm going to stay here and rebuild. But, 3 times, I personally think if I had the option, I would probably leave, at least as a permanent home. I would have a home somewhere else where it's safe from most of the hurricanes. There's our video of like stilts standing where the actual houses were. I guess maybe water got in there and just drug the houses off. We are going to plant this 3-in-1 grafted loquat here, which was supposed to be a 4-in-1, but the SES2 did not make it. Didn't have to pay extra because it didn't make it. The guy said SES2 has been really hard to graft this year. He's had a lot of failures. So we just took it as is, and we're going to try to widen this hole here out. There's a lot of bricks and rocks and concrete down there for whatever reason. That front yard area that we were going to do pineapple guavas originally here and decided not to. Didn't really want to fully make it like a mycorrhizal raised age wood chip alternative bed here. Just kind of put a border on it. It's tight. We might have to do some hand digging around here, but look at all these bricks and all this stuff, concrete pieces, stones. Collect some of this magic soil here, which is goat urine, goat poop, composted hay over like 5, 7, 10 years that has made this ground full of earthworms, microbials, fungal growth, like mycorrhizal fungi, and it's like coffee ground color versus the ground and stuff that is around this area, away from the magic soil. Yeah, we got some weeds in there, that's okay. Just pull them out like that, and look at that, nice. And we got some of the leftover remnants of the potting soil from Blue Star, which didn't do good for our tomatoes, but it's filler, I guess. And we got some water here. Let's just put some of this magic soil in the bottom there. All right, so we put some of potting soil in there, a little bit more magic soil, some more of this ground soil. Now we're going to water it. The Atriano fig at the opposite end here, and kind of did it in a hurry without video in it. So Natalie's having some issues with the kids listening, so we'll have to go take care of that. Hopefully there's that. There's still a lot of weeds that need to be pulled and taken care of. I'll probably fill in, do like a post-mycorrhizal bed over these things over the next few months or whatever. Kind of wondering if I plant a fig in the middle, you got that thing there and it's kind of close to the loquat, but I'm not sure if I should plant anything that gets more than like 5 or 6 foot here. But we do have room. Maybe pineapple guavas would be a good thing to go. I realized this morning after I moved that banana plant in this big old container here that it is way too heavy. I don't have a really fluffy light potting soil in there. It's super dense. I can't see myself protecting that, bringing it inside in the cold. I either just let it do in the pot, maybe put a water container by it, or wrap it in a sheet, the base, or we plant it out before it gets super cold in a banana circle. But that's not going to be on this video. So the other day, or a couple weeks ago, we talked about the importance of not planting on a power line. So why did I just go against my own sort of rules to plant that loquat there? So let's go over the main reason to not do that. And you would think, well, will it grow up to the line? Will it interfere with the power company, cable company, telephone company, yada yada? Sometimes the power companies will do a really harsh pruning of trees depending on the power company and the people they contract with, and there's nothing you can do about it. But that's not really the main reason, and especially with a loquat. So I want to show you about a 42-year-old loquat tree, and let's look at how tall and wide it is. There is over a 40-year-old loquat. There's the power lines there, and it's probably at its highest point, probably 8 or 9 feet over that. But like I said, that's over a 40-year-old tree, and you can prune heavily to make it go under there. But a lot of the top branches aren't going to be super thick, maybe only an inch or two anyway, so they can trim it. It's not going to interfere much probably with the power lines. But the problem you're going to find is that those power lines are highways for squirrels, and I can't tell you why. If you go 100 foot or 75 foot away from a power line and there's trees, they can just jump from tree to tree to tree, or just do a quick sprint, 25 or 50 feet on the ground and just go up a tree or whatever. But when like pecan trees are at that power line, they decimate the pecan trees, and I'm assuming any fruit tree that could happen with. But I'm looking at it as far as full sun, prime location, and I talked to the guy that around here that actually grafts 7 or 8 different varieties of loquats, and he sells a bunch of them. He takes the samples to grow meetings, nursery, plant meetings, garden clubs. I can barely get through a video, rarely I should say, without being disturbed by the kids fighting with each other, or fighting with mama, or come wipe my butt, come do this, come do that. Something's going on. Back to the issue of squirrels and stuff. It's probably still going to be an issue. Birds will decimate those loquats, I think, more than anything from what I've seen, because we do have that 40, 42, 45-year-old loquat tree. Sometimes a certain type of bird, I don't know what it is, little small birds that come in by the hundreds, will spend 3 days at the tree, and most of the fruit will be gone. Mulberries as well. But despite that, it gives us more genetics, more potential to just have more stuff out there that's potentially going to survive and thrive, and plant material to experiment with in other places. So if I got a 3-in-1 grafted plant there, and of course there's going to be seedlings everywhere, so you got your rootstock already, and you graft. And with all these wetlands experiments we're doing, we may find places here, there, maybe find neighbors to experiment with these practices, like the mycorrhizal raised bed practices that people do with avocados, and you try to use those things to experiment with new things. Remember raised bed 1, I do have a loquat there. It hasn't grown much at all for whatever reason, you know, and it may just need that bed to be matured for 2 or 3 seasons or more so that it gets more nutrients available to the root system. The guy that does all these said, do it. Put it under the power line, you know. Prune it heavily. Try to promote that horizontal growth, you know, angles and out versus straight up, you know, and he said, you know, you can definitely keep these loquats at a low enough height and be really successful without disturbing that power line. It's also possible that squirrels and stuff may decide that something else is better anyway. Just like, you know, we got beauty berries here that nothing seems to be eating because somewhere else there are other things that they prefer. And I don't know about loquats, but you know, obviously they love pecans. Let's see. Hopefully you guys will be on this adventure with me in the next season, or 5 or 10 seasons, or however long we last here. And hopefully right now we just want all the grafts and the main rootstock to survive and start growing. So let's throw a monkey wrench. And we talked quite a while ago, probably the beginning or middle of season 2 of the age raised wood chip alternative beds, the mycorrhizal beds, about throwing a monkey wrench here. I think we had 2 monkey wrench beds. One was the avocado all the way in the wettest part of our yard, which is still alive. Hopefully it does well long term. We'll see how good it does in the winter, and if it comes back, you know, and see if it actually gets some growth on it, because it did get some dieback and stress, I guess, after we planted it down there. But we also teased another, like a mystery or monkey wrench bed with potentially 2, maybe more plants. And this is that raised bed on this like south wall of this barn here. It's probably not 100% complete. I tried to work on it a little bit a week or 2 back, before the hurricane, I think. Well, these weeds are not cooperating very well. My wrist is kind of messed up, my left wrist. Let's see if we can do anything else and try to get something in here. And I don't think we ever told anybody what that main mystery monkey wrench plant was that we got at Greenhouse Nursery. Now, if you guys seen the video and knew what it was, that's fine, but most likely 99% chance nobody knows what that is. So instead of trying to clean it completely up, let's just find our dig hole spots, dig a hole, and like the loquat bed, this may not be, it's not a fully ready bed like the other ones that we've all planted in. So we might have to sort of, do that age wood chip adding as we plant, or with our planting, and over time add more materials. Don't have a whole lot of potting soil or anything, but I don't know. Let's see what we can do. When we started building this, we were letting dewberries ripen out, and now there's still a lot of the actual vines. There's a lot of super long grass, creeping daisies, Biden's album, maybe a couple other things in here, some elephant ears, and it's kind of hard to work with, but we're going to see if we can just make a hole for the plant and then kind of over time fill in the area surrounding it with good material. So this is kind of the middle section. I've kind of pulled a lot of it out with this rake, but not everything. I'm not even going to worry about everything. So I can see that back border there. It does not have really anything to hold it. So we need to add some more plant material here. That's obviously a pecan tree, a small one. And who knows what all this stuff is, maples and all kinds of wood. But we definitely at least need a strip between these 2 cross sections here. All right, so I dug out 2 smaller pieces there. And of course we can put smaller and smaller pieces and bits and mulch in as we have time. But let's go ahead and dig a hole here. So what is this mystery plant? it already has a bloom forming. And a little bit of our magic soil is going to go in the hole and probably a little bit on top and mixed around a little bit. This guy's probably a little root bound, and that's a pretty small pot. So I guess the faster we get it out of this pot, the better. We're going to put it slightly above the ground level because I'm not sure how much moisture and all it can take. And this is sort of a flood zone, so maybe a couple inches above the soil level. So we haven't watered it or packed it in very well. Just kind of pull it back, but it's still kind of growing in that direction there. Maybe we should pack it with our foot so we get a little bit straighter growth here. And pack it in, water it in. I think we're going to put logs a little bit closer, so maybe we can add a little bit more soil into that one section. So we put the last of the bag of Blue Star potting soil on here. We're going to water it in, and it's nowhere near done. Like, we probably need to find some really small logs to sort of box it in and put a lot more stuff. This rainwater and duckweed mixture here, so there should be some nutrients in here. Probably a lot of lightning strikes as it rained throughout the last few months, getting this sun, which, you know, when lightning ionizes or electrifies the air or the water when it's raining, so those raindrops have nitrogen in them. Plus, you know, something's feeding this duckweed. So as this duckweed deteriorates, compost down, it also feeds the plants. I'm not really used to holding the phone left-handed, but my wrist is not feeling that great, and I don't really want to hold 6 or 8 pounds of water in my left hand as I do this. And it's looking good. Don't even look like I'm gonna have to pack it. Did I forget to tell you what this was? This is mountain soursop. So soursop is ultra tropical, impossible to grow here. You may be able to grow it in some greenhouse situations. Mountain soursop, not considered as good or edible, but the leaves have some kind of value. But I don't know, maybe they use these as root stocks too. I can't remember, but this is a Nona, Montana. So yes, it's more cold hardy, but it's still like in that subtropical, tropical-esque range that's not a lot of people grow here for whatever reason. And it could be because of the fruit quality, it could be because of cold. But there are people that in the 50-mile range of here, Archer, Newberry or something, they grow these and they do something with the leaves and they sell them. So I probably disappointed a lot of people by keeping them on the edge about what this, monkey wrench mystery plant was going to be. Sorry about that. I did plan to get it planted out in this bed done so much faster though. So I hope that people haven't been on the edge just saying, did he forget about this? What was it? Did whatever die before he got it in the ground? All right, we put some fresh cut grass over that I cut within about 4 or 5 days ago, and some weeds and stuff around it to try to mulch it, make sure it stays moist. And over time, we're gonna, like I said, we're gonna have to add more. This guy got a little dip in that duckweed unintentionally because it fell over here. But this is number 2. I don't think there's gonna be a number 3 right now. I was considering doing Barbados cherry. I got to do more research on it. I need to see if, putting the water barrel around it in the winter would be enough to protect it with like a sort of a semi-south wall on an open face barn. Would, those factors protect it, or do I still have to keep it pruned down, wrap it, put Christmas lights on it, or, I don't want to have to do every single thing. And I probably do need to have some backup plants so that I am producing at least a small, 15 to 30 gallon Barbados cherry, protected in the winter till it gets, too heavy, I guess, to bring inside. But this is jackfruit. I've sort of got an affinity, I guess, for this guy because it survived unprotected, semi-shade, for like 3+ years. Now it died down a lot, came back from the roots. What happens if we put it in the ground? More sun, so more hopefully more growth during the warmer periods, and hopefully it also allows it to get more nutrients in it. And I'm told to do the horizontal thing, but looks like it's got something going on there. But maybe we should snip it and try to get some bushing out of it. And we may do like the water barrel method and maybe try to keep it pruned to 8 foot. I don't know. They say that's hard to do because these guys get really tall. But I've also heard that some seedlings have produced something for people at 18 months, and maybe a lot of them have them at like 3 years at seedlings, not grafted ones, I think. Correct me if I'm wrong, or actually I'll do my own research later, but that's okay. Right now we're just trying to see if it'll survive in the ground on its own with minimal protection, and if it survives and doesn't die down at the ground every year and actually survives up on the trunk, it might one day actually produce some flowers and maybe fruit. I think the fruit takes 8 months to develop, so very long development time. This is our area. We got a very small area to dig in because there's some logs that go like really far under this thing here, or roots or something, that aren't going to be easy to dig. So let's see if we can go back there by that block. We're going to have to really work on this one post planting to get those blocks out and add more logs and stuff back there, and do the same thing, just kind of wrap it around with more, plant material. You can see how black this soil is, but this is some of the blackest soil I've ever seen. And it's full of earthworms, so this is probably that prime topsoil that everybody wants when they do a garden. But when you tell, a landscaper or a contractor, bring me topsoil, they're probably using fill dirt from old highways and, roads and stuff that you never know how much chemicals and stuff is there. This is the stuff untouched generally that people really want. More of our magic soils going in. I'm gonna set it down there. But this is so bad to work with because all those dewberries getting on your fingers. So I'm gonna try to work it with a shovel as much as I can. Watered it with our duckweed water. I was gonna put that on video, but our bucket actually broke. I guess too much UV. And these buckets do not have UV protection on them. They're just milk jugs or orange juice jugs, and they're meant to be used for a limited time, only indoors. Put a little bit of old potting soil from a plant, a couple plants that failed. They have a little bit of time release fertilizer, which may help this guy a little bit, I don't know. Packed it down a second time, put some freshly mowed grass here, might mulch it with some weeds and stuff, and we're gonna call it a day. But we got a lot of work to do, I guess, on this bed. Not in too terrible of a hurry to do it, but we do need like some of the compost process to begin before the cold weather comes, so that it keeps the ground sort of warmer than normal by having all of this material being ate up by earthworms and bacterial and fungal growth. Last thing I'm going to say about this mystery or monkey wrench bed is that when I do my nutrient drenches and stuff, I'm going to keep them away from the roots. So we definitely need to do nutrient wrenches, but we probably need more carbon, away, everywhere in this bed here before we do like stink water drenches and stuff like that. I'll go ahead and shoot it with a little bit of lime though, so that won't really hurt anything. Now it looks like it's snow or 7 dust all over it. Oh, it's fine. Oop, some on that leaf there. We'll probably soon get some compost, maybe a bag or 2 to put on here. We're out of pretty much everything potting soil compost. My raised bed, or I should say my kiddie pool compost system has been taken over sort of by black soldier flies, but maybe that would be okay. Let's get some carbon in here, maybe on the next video that we do with the aged wood chip raised alternative beds, and do nutrient drenches. And then if those black soldier flies are still here, that stink water and some of those actual solids from that stink water, that would probably feed these black soldier flies really well. But I'll try not to go directly on the roots with them, just everywhere else. Start the breakdown process. Black soldier flies are supposed to be super good with composting. Lastly, are we going to put anything else in here? You know, smaller plants or whatever, since we're not committed, at least yet, to do the Barbados cherries. You know, I thought pineapple or something, I don't know, but it might be just too crowded out in this pretty small bed here, especially with jackfruit is a large tree if it does well. I don't know how big the mountain soursop does or gets. Guys are both experimental here though, as far as I'm concerned. We'll see. And you know, the jackfruit, you know, we got to make sure it does not get overtaken by dewberries and stuff. So we got to keep this clean. We got to be vigilant until or unless it gets like 10 feet tall or something. And that way it can live even with the dewberry vines growing on it. You know, I had like last season, those squash, pumpkin, zucchinis, whatever they were, hybrids, crosses, overtook my camellia tea trees and everything and just killed them. They didn't come back. They killed, you know, ferns. They killed a variety of stuff. A few things did that come back, I guess, from the ground up every year. Perennial type stuff came back, but not them. So I'm sure these dewberries could still just overtake a small plant like that as well and just drown it of all sunlight, and there it goes. Or like, you know, what happened with the Anna apple, you know, in that raised bed that we lost, and the muscadine grapes, and what was it, Virginia creeper or dewberries or something, grabbed a hold of that fairly newly planted plant, and they grew vigorously, and they pulled that plant up slowly out of the roots, and it dried out. You would think it's kind of like the python going around somebody's neck and then squeezing them and pulling them up to the roof or something. That can happen. That just happened here this season with an Anna apple. So dewberries can, I'm sure, do the same thing if the tree is small enough or doesn't have the roots solid into the ground. But I think this video is super long, so y'all take care. And I am so glad we got to do a raised age wood chip bed video again, even though it's not a mature bed. It's gonna be something. As you know, it already has something. Success or failure, something else will be planted here if these guys fail. Take care, guys.